A developing story out of New York. Knicks center Mitchell Robinson, who played in just 31 games last season and is coming off 2 procedures on his left ankle, he will not be ready for the start of the season. That's what league sources confirmed to our NBA reporter Tim Bontemps, leaving an already thin center spot even thinner for New York. So the aforementioned Tim Bontemps is joining us now. Tim, what exactly is the latest on Robinson's recovery here?
So yeah, Malika, Mitchell Robinson had off-season surgery on this left ankle, an issue he's been dealing with going back to last December when he had an injury that cost him most of the regular season. He only played 31 games, you see here on the screen. And then he came back for a few games in the playoffs before he landed awkwardly here and suffered another injury of that left leg. And after going through the surgery, trying to rehab in the summertime, he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. As you said, this is a real concern for the Knicks. They lost Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency this summer. He signed a 3-year, $87 million deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder, becoming their starting center, at least on a part-time basis, alongside Chet Holmgren. And for the Knicks, who have Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims as their only other true centers on the roster, and Achiuwa is a small center at that, this is not exactly the kind of deployment of resources that Tom Thibodeau, a guy who's typically got a rim-protecting center on the court at all times, is used to having coming into the season. For a team with the expectations of this Knicks group, Malika, it's going to be something to monitor over the opening couple of months of the season for sure.
Okay, so you mentioned a couple of names there, Tim. How exactly, though, do the Knicks plan on filling that center spot in Robinson's absence, particularly early on here?
Well, I think the first thing you'll expect to see is a lot of Precious Achiuwa, who came over in the OG Anunoby trade. Everybody talked about the acquisition of Anunoby. Obviously got the massive $200 million 5-year deal this summer to return to the Knicks. But Achiuwa re-signed on a $6 million contract this summer, and he had a pretty big role for the Knicks down the stretch, playing defensively in the paint, had probably the best defensive stretch of his career. They're going to rely on him a bunch, and as you see here, there's going to be a lot of Julius Randle, who last week, Tom Thibodeau, in an interview with NBA.com, said he could see Randle playing some time as a small ball center. And as I referenced before, that is not something that Thibodeau has typically done really at any stage of his career. He's almost always had a rim-protecting big center on the court to be the anchor of what's typically been a very good defensive team. As we know, Tibbs is one of the best defensive coaches in recent NBA history. So it's going to be fascinating to see if going into the season with all these wings that they've loaded up on, you were talking about during the break, guys again, Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, the Knicks can play small all over the place, Malika. They're going to have to try to do that at least the opening couple months of the season, because the Knicks aren't going to be able to make any kind of moves in the short term to shore up this center spot. They're going to trust their depth right now to get them through.
Right, and the only silver lining in that I can think of, Tim, is, okay, at least you're going to see those combinations early. So by the time the trade deadline rolls around, Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks brass have decided, okay, these are the guys that we want to continue to roll with. Thank you so very much for joining us, Tim. ESPN senior writer Zach Lowe is joining us now. But Monica McNutt, since you are on the Knicks broadcasting team, you know, sis, I am turning to you first.
Don't do it.
How big of an issue is this for New York? We just talked about how thin they are at center.
It's not great. It's not great. And I think the part that is probably underrated, because I've debated with many a fan about Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson, because they are not who you think of in terms of big-time centers that score and do a bunch of other fantastic things, but their presence. They anchor that defense to what Tim Bontemps said, and particularly Mitchell Robinson, before he got hurt, was playing really good basketball in the fall for the New York Knicks. It's going to drag everybody else slightly out of position. And they've got a schedule that's no joke. I literally was looking earlier today. November 12th, they play in Philly. And that's Joel Embiid versus your kind of Band-Aid 5, whoever that may be. I mean, these are the players that they're going to match up with in the first leg of the season at that 5 position. And while Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson, just as examples, are not necessarily guarding those guys one-on-one, you need that first line of defense, and you need those bodies in the paint.
This is a big deal. We could look back in 6 months and say Isaiah Hartenstein changing teams was maybe the most impactful move of the offseason, or one of them, along with Paul George, both for Oklahoma City and the void it leaves now with the Knicks. And it's not just defensively with the rebounding and size and rim protection that Mitchell Robinson brings. The Knicks under Tibbs have been the best second shot offensive team in the entire NBA. They are an offensive rebounding machine, and they put those back in. They get fouled. Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein were basically all of that last year. And their wings can crash, but you can't build an offensive rebounding team based on that. And look, Tim talked about the little quirky counters. We can see Randall at the 5. OG Anunoby will guard centers in some of those circumstances. You can get by with that, but there are going to be nights where you're just too small, and you don't want to overstretch every healthy player too much in the regular season. Here's the reality. The East is super competitive at the top, and Orlando, Cleveland, and Indiana are breathing down the necks of the top 4 in the East. the margin for, I mean, it's too early to talk about playoff seeding, but the margin for error is pretty slim. Like, this is a big deal for the Knicks. I'm not sure how they fill it. I don't know what move they could make. We could start talking about that, but this is a sideways turn for their season before it even starts.
Yeah, I do want to get into what they can do about all that. We won't go into playoff seeding yet in September, but the Knicks, they do have their best title odds since 2001, right? And you can feel it. We're sitting in New York right now. There's a palpable energy about their team. So now they have a major question, though, David, on the interior. How big of a blow do you think this is to New York?
Yeah, Malika, I've spent most of the offseason getting cursed out and hung up on and blocked by all my New York friends because I've been a little bit lower on the Knicks than a lot of people, specifically because I have concerns about injuries and bigs. And now you have a situation where you're losing a big for some time because of injuries. And those two things have reared their ugly head. And you're going to start the season. The first 10 games of the season, they play 7 playoff teams. So you're going to be behind the 8 ball when it comes to your scheduling, when it comes to your win-loss record. And you're going to have putting a lot more minutes and a lot more, wear and tear on some of these stars who you need to make a big playoff run. This is a huge deal with a lot of concerns for them when you're going out there and you're playing the Giannis, Embiid, Porzingis when he's back. This is not something that we can just brush over when it comes to the Knicks.
The one thing I will say, if I'm going to hold on to it as an optimism, because I think we all agree center is important, the switchability of your now OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, is there some embodiment of like Warriors-esque small ball? We all acknowledge how unique Draymond Green is, but I just wonder if that gives you a ray of hope, because on its face, a rim protector is quintessential to what head coach Tom Thibodeau wants to do defensively.
I thought about switching to. The problem is that it really stresses Jalen Brunson.
Agreed.
Because the teams will all go at him, and he's big, he's strong, he's like a cinder block.
As the years went by and I learned to know myself more and more, like I realized that I have a gift,
Wembanyama goes right by Durant.
I was born to do things differently.
How scary is it that this is the worst season of Wemby's career? Very scary for everybody.
Oh, it's knocked away by Wembanyama.
Said it from the beginning that he's special.
He's going to change the game.
We have never seen something like that before.
That's the scariest thing that we've ever seen.
Wait, back up 1 second.
If my ability is to be the greatest, then there's no option but to be the greatest.
Oh, it is scary to imagine what he is going to be in year 2. But let's ask the machine who's going up, who's going down. Our NBA senior writer Kevin Pelton released his projections this morning on ESPN.com. And really, it's no surprise, Zach, that having year 2 of Wemby puts the Spurs in his group of 3 teams that are most likely to improve. Of course, Ja Morant's return has the Grizzlies in his top 3. And then there's the Detroit Pistons because it's hard.
This is the Air Pistons.
Worse. What might be a little more surprising, though, are the 3 teams Pelton sees going the other way. LeBron James and the Lakers, Kawhi and the Clippers, and Anthony Edwards and the Wolves? All right, NBA reporter Tim MacMahon, who specializes in all things West, is joining us now. Tim, do you agree with Kevin's trio of teams here?
The declining teams, I was actually a little bit surprised that he did not have the Denver Nuggets in there. And obviously, you lose KCP. That means keep championship players. The Lakers learned the hard way. The Nuggets are going to do the same thing here. That's on the heels of losing Bruce Brown last year. The 2 finishing pieces to their championship puzzle. And look, let's be honest. I know Jamal Murray just signed a fresh new max contract, but coming off of a poor playoffs by his standards, hit an abysmal Olympics by anyone's standards, I'm not saying the Nuggets are falling out of the top 6, but that window to really contend for titles might have closed midway through the Joker's prime.
I ain't writing off the Joker like that, but that's a different story. We can talk about the Nuggets off air. I'm a little worried too, but the Joker is the Joker. Look, let me defend Kevin Pelton because I'm sure he's taking some heat from Minnesota fans.
And that surprised me a little.
The decline is too strong a word. I think Minnesota will be a top 4 team in the Western Conference again this year. But after getting to the conference finals, that doesn't mean anything. The proof is in the pudding in the playoffs. And there's just something in my stomach That's just a little.
Do you need an antacid?
I don't know what I need. I'm a little. This is a conference finals team with an ascendant young superstar. All the rotation players, but Kyle Anderson coming back. And I'm just a little, like, they're the logical pick to make the finals by all those metrics, and I just can't get there. Part of it is Mike Conley is almost 37 years old, and this team looks disorganized and a little uncertain of itself on offense when he's injured or not available, and he's 37. Cat and Rudy, it worked last year defensively. It was a little clunky on offense. Rudy just got benched by France in the Olympics. Is it going to work again? And then their eighth guy is who? Who's their eighth guy? Their sixth and seventh guys are great. Their eighth guy might be a rookie. It might be Rob Dillingham. It might be Terrence Shannon Jr. That is fine for the playoffs. In the regular season, that makes me a little nervous. Like someone gets hurt. And
Okay, I'm going to let you work through your feelings.
I've got some
here.
issues.
Yeah, clearly you do. Mr. Dennis, what are you looking at here?
I have similar levels of heartburn concern things with Minnesota and the Timberwolves there, but for me, the team that I think, I have a little more concern about a team I've actually been singing a lot of praises of, is that's the Phoenix Suns. I do think they can make a lot of noise in the playoffs, but by saying that, I have to also acknowledge the possibility that this season can go the total opposite direction. Last season, they barely made it into the 6th seed, and a lot of that was because of the injuries. The top 3 guys only played 41 or so games together, and now we're asking them to run it back after KD's played in the Olympics, after Booker's played in the Olympics, with Beal having, who knows what's going on with his back. Hopefully it's 100%. But this team has a high risk, high reward situation. They're very volatile. I would not be surprised if they shock some teams in the playoffs, but I also would not be surprised if they end up as a play-in team.
Okay, I know it's cloudy in New York, but enough with the doom and gloom. I get it. The Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Suns, that's who our panel thinks could slip this season. How about some sunshine? Let's go a little positivity here on this Monday. The inception of the play-in, right? That means at least 2 new teams have cracked the top 6 each and every year. So, Tim, who do you think it is going to be this year?
Look, you don't need Kevin Pelton's pocket protector to predict the Memphis Grizzlies are going to have a bounce-back season, right? Like, hey, John Morant stayed on the straight and narrow all summer. He's healthy. He's back. So is Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. This is a 50-win core, 2 straight seasons that the bottom dropped out last year. I think whether the Grizzlies are going to be a real threat in the West, though, that's going to be determined based on their rookie. Hey, is Zach Edey ready? Can he be that impactful right now as a rookie? If he's a rookie of the year, then the Grizzlies are going to be a team that is going to be a major factor in the Western Conference.
It's Zach Edey, and particularly Zach Edey's defense. If he's going to get thrust into a starting role, which is rare for a rookie on a team that could win 50 games to get this much responsibility, it's about his defense and it's about their outside shooting. Who is going to step up other than Desmond Bane to be an above-average three-point shooter in their starting 5? Where is Jaren Jackson Jr.'s jump shot at? They're the easiest pick on the board. I've been saying for months, give me all the Grizzlies. Everybody wrote the Grizzlies off. The Grizzlies win 50 games like clockwork every year that they're healthy. And the other team, they're coming. He's coming. Wemby is coming.
Yep.
If the Spurs have a moderate level of health this year, I'm telling you, we're going to get to April, and they're going to be in the play-in race at worst. He's just too good. He's going to be too good.
Plus that Chris Paul, Wemby
That's what I'm saying. Knock on wood for CP's health.
Yeah,
he's old. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry.
That could be really, really interesting. We're going to ignore the old part. What are you looking at here, David?
How is it that we've all seemed to be sleeping on the Sacramento Kings? Like a couple years ago, this was the best offense we'd seen in the NBA history pretty much, and now you've added DeMar Rose to this team. When you have 2 clutch players, a runner-up of clutch of the year and a clutch player of the year, they can erase some of those different difficulties that you have, especially defensively.